Good morning and a very warm welcome to this week's edition of The Dialogue. My name is Tim Apollo and the panel is set to take you through the big stories of the week. Welcome once again, and I must tell you from the start, you can be part of this big discussion using your WhatsApp forum and you send in your comments on those matters of national importance. In the studios, I said the panel is set. Richard Baguma Tinkasimire, a communications expert, Dr. Wedihe Wanzara, a researcher from Africa Leadership Institute, and we've been joined by Charity Ahimsibwe, a human rights activist and the executive director for Electoral Laws Institute. Welcome aboard. Well, like I said, big stories of the week. Indeed, it was a very eventful week. Sad stories dominated the whole week. Grisly incidents of people shooting others, and of course we are this very day the country will be seeing off the late State Minister for Labor and Industrial Development, Honorable retired Colonel Charles Sengola, will be laid to rest today in his home district of Oyam, and possibly will be getting an update right from Oyam. This week, Parliament, of course, received the body of Colonel retired Charles Okero Engola, and members of Parliament paid respect to the fallen comrade, and of course honored his contribution during his lifetime. He has been eulogized as a brave and courageous soldier, and of course a selfless leader who sacrificed a lot for his country. And we again say, may his soul rest in eternal peace. But like I said, grisly incidents happened this week and the other one, and we can talk about the shootings, especially in that area of Chanja, which has actually become a hot spot in one or another. Again, a video blogger, Ismail Access, also known as Ichuli, was also assassinated in that same area. He is already buried, and again we say, may his soul rest in peace. But again, it raises issues and concerns about the murders and shootings, and actually involving the use of the gun. Last evening, again, another incident happened when a police officer shot dead an Indian businessman in Kampala, and it also again becomes our big topic for discussion this morning. The gun violence in this country, what does it mean and where is it going? It will be our main topic for discussion this morning. Let me introduce the panel. Richard Baguma Tinkasimire, though you came in a bit late, but speak to our viewers.
Actually, you are confessing that the machines were not working properly at the beginning. Because for the viewers, we have all started at the same time, so what is late? Yeah, but
it was for the benefit of the colleagues here.
It's good for your confessions. Yeah. The confessions are welcome.
Yeah.
Yes, but good
it's
morning.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, good morning. I mean, condolences all around. It's condolences all around. There are also those ones whom we have lost. Yes, one of my old boys lost a mother. He's also from my village in Kokonjeru in Mbarara. So they are Goodbar, my friend, Goodbar Tumshabe.
Lost his father.
Old man. He's not really his father, but he's his father, quote unquote. He's the man who paid his school fees and looked after him. He probably wouldn't have gone to school if the man didn't. But that one we celebrate, he was probably 110 years, so really, who else do you want to die if you're not 110 years old? So anyway, it's been condolences all around.
Yeah.
And I think that for me what stands out now is that the people in Bunyoro, in Toro, who are waiting for the body of their son, they have been in a vigil for, is it 10 days, 10 now? And there is no body, the body is not coming, and they are not being told what's going on. So for me, the UPDF should also be answering. Because you see, there is a problem. We have been with the NRA for 40 plus years. And we have not had these incidents of NRA people just going shooting their officers, their seniors. So what's happening? What's going on? So why do we just, blame one and not inquire into this? There has to be an inquest for me. But people must also bury their dead, irrespective. So anyway, God is great. God is powerful. God is gracious. Thank you for watching us, the people who watch us faithfully. I'd also like to say hello to my colleagues. The Namisindwa man. I know you are grieving. You have lost a friend. Cancer is something that is really at our heart. We've been talking about all the time. And snatched another one. Of course, Charity has decided to put on the flag of her party on her feet now. Very stylish. So, Charity, nice to see you.
Which party? Is it UPC or no?
Kamana has created a party for me.
Thank you so much, Richard. It's always a pleasure having you on the show. Charity Msibwe, speak to our viewers.
A very good morning to all our viewers this Saturday morning. Happy to be back here and to meet Richard and the man from Namisindwa himself, Dr. Werihe Wanzala. Of course, I'm taking Richard's vibes not serious about my red shoes. It's a free world. You mean for you, don't you have red blood flowing in your body? So it means Richard is of my party, just that he doesn't know that he belongs to a party with red blood. Happy that we are going to discuss very delicate matters. They are very dicey, but one, my heart goes out to all the people who have lost their relatives in such a way. It is shocking. You see, a person can die out of sickness and still you take long to come to terms with a death. How about shooting? My heart goes out to them, and I pray for comfort. I pray that God reaches out to you. Good, I am on Salt TV where we actually can pray and trust God. But I also pray for Uganda, because now the question of blood, there seems to be blood running after Ugandans. I pray for this country. I pray that we get stability, we get serenity, and we get calmness come back.
Thank you so much, Charity. It's a pleasure having you on the show this morning.
Thank you.
Dr. Jedwele Wanzala, just speak to the people of Namisindwa at least.
Yeah, if you have given me that space to speak to them. Good morning, our viewers, and specifically our viewers from Namisindwa. We are always here, and I'm glad that you're always moving with us every Saturday. Let me get to briefly to the issue of colors. Yesterday, I laughed a lot because I think there was a video of Bala Barugahara together with the son of the late Angola, who the NRM wants to bring as a candidate to replace the father. And this guy has been a known UPC activist in Iran. So I had people arguing on the platform that, hey, how can a UPC wear yellow and is going to contest in NRM position? So a UPC member responded that, hey, the son is free to contest because yellow was here before even Museveni came to power. So I had a UPC who is defending yellow, that it's okay for their person to go to NRM and contest under yellow because yellow was here before Mr. Museveni captured power. So it was really interesting. So for me, the issues of colors, I think they are not making sense anymore.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jedwele Wanzala, and it's always a pleasure having you on the show. And thank you so much, our viewers, for keeping with us, and we cannot take it for granted. Let's go straight to serious matters. Gentlemen and the lady, my attention this week was drawn to two different videos. One, it was a video of armed men shooting cows. These were grisly, incidents. But luckily, I felt like this can't be in Uganda. But I was lucky. The communication came in, and it was in DRC, not in Uganda. Very inhuman. And another video, of course, was from northern Uganda, and adults were being flogged in rain, lying down in mud, because they were suspected to be charcoal dealers, and it didn't look really. I mean, I don't know if anyone of you watched that video.
I saw that video, and actually I have a message here that I sent to the Honorable Gilbert Olanya, because they say it's him and
Odonga Tom
who are leading this kind of approach towards controlling deforestation in northern Uganda. But of course, my message to him was that can't we use your status in Parliament as a platform for us to engage constructively on this? But I think the anger is too much, but also we are ignoring the general, statistics about energy sector in Uganda. If you say no charcoal, of course there is this notion that why is it coming from Acholi, Lango, and Adim and things, other places like that? Why not Musoga? Why not Mbala? I told them forests have been depleted. If you go to Musoga now, we used to get charcoal from there, and now we only have fene, jackfruit trees. If it's not tree, then mangoes. And then you go to Bunyoro, of course, government is also contributing, giving out forests for sugarcane growing. And the demand now for charcoal is so high, because most of the people, I looked at the statistics, people who are using clean energy like gas and electricity are less than 3% of our population. Majority who live in the rural areas are using firewood. Now the demand in Kampala, about 30%, are depending on the charcoal. So if you are stopping charcoal, what alternative?
Okay, Doctor, that aside, it also ignites that debate and concern around climate change, effects of climate change. The other day, Kampala Masaka Road was cut off by flash floods, and last week we were talking about 16 people who died in Kisoro. Gentlemen and the lady, in just 1 minute, a comment about how we are taking the environment serious or not serious. Starting with you again, Gerard.
Me, I want to take this ball to the government. This is a governance question. And I can assure you, no single person. Like now, I will give the example of Odongaoto. He's mobilizing, of course, which is not right, to grab people, may even ban people's cars there. And then he's arrested and put inside. The charcoal will continue because there is demand, and the actual people are also depending on for income. So what are we saying is that let's take this seriously. The government, are we really serious? Should we have sugarcane plantations everywhere in this country?
Even in forests?
Of course, they clear forests. And then we saw in Jinja, you had Obutamira forest. Madivan cleared part of it, and it's the whole forest.
Bugoma forest.
Here
in Chikube.
Even in Mabila here, it's just on the highway. If you go behind there, Mabila forest is not there. You have heard in the Bunyoro, Chikube, fighting because of forest. You heard of Friends of Zoka in West Nile. Forests are going everywhere. That's why I'm not surprised that all trucks now are going to Acholi for charcoal. If you say, there you get it from Barara, where? You travel that route. You saw even around Sanga, they cut small trees and make charcoal, and then charcoal is brought to Kampala. There are no trees. For us in Bugisu, we are planting small plantations of eucalyptus trees in order to get firewood. So I think it is something that government needs to look at. One, issues of taxes on gas.
Yes.
I saw the Honorable Nankabirwa saying she was distributing 2 million gas cylinders to households. I don't know which households got in that, but that's around last year. But now you may even give the cylinder. But how many people?
Yes.
People are depending on dry beans that they are buying. So they cook these beans. They take a very long time to get ready. So if they buy this small gas of 6 kilograms, so how long will it take?
Will it take? Yeah, true.
We are talking about Sigiri chapati economy. You see?
So Charity, are we, I mean, being serious about the environment and effects of climate change, mitigating the effects of climate change?
So I think that where he has placed the ball is the correct place. Government carried out what they called an environment impact assessment some time back with NEMA. And NEMA, one of the things that has let us down with them is that why was that National Environment Management Authority set up? That National Environment Authority was set up, one, to track water bodies and see, is water receding, is water increasing, is there a possibility of flooding, what are the underlying causes, can we evaluate, can we estimate, can we project? That's what NEMA is supposed to do. Then they are supposed to also look at forests and do the same thing. Analyze and say, okay, for forests, this is the forest cover, this is how much we have lost, this is what we need, this is what needs to be replaced. Because certainly when there is geopolitical activity, that activity is going to affect the environment in terms of water bodies, and it's also going to affect the forests. And so people have talked about the sanding, sand mining, and saying it is the reason Katonga has flooded. And they said, but okay, now that Katonga has flooded, Mbara has an alternative route in Sembabule. Let's use that one. But people were saying when they went to Sembabule, they found cows freely moving about, and so they found a difficulty accessing that road in Sembabule because it's not meant for big trucks. This Masaka road was meant for that. And so there is all that controversy around the way we plan and think as a country. Now that we find ourselves here, urgently, NEMA needs to wake up other than just defend sand mining of sand.
And rice growing in a way.
It's not the reason that we are having flooding, because NEMA came out and released a statement to that effect. Fine. Now that you are capable of releasing a statement to that effect, can you also come out and tell us that so far the forest cover we have is 22,000 hectares of land?
I think it reduced to 10% at 10% from 24.
Yeah, but
the wetland is reduced from 14 to 1%.
Exactly. So, but even that 1%, the other time NEMA came out and said it's not 1%, that it's 5%. So for me, what I want them to do is to defend themselves now that nature has disproved everything they are saying in the academic documents. Nature has fought back, and nature has now decided 100 people dead in Chisoro. Okay, Kasese, how many people died? About 15 families displaced, and how many? 7
Wait
people
for Bududa, Sironko.
Okay, those are the ones that they know.
Bulambuli and all.
And then he is telling us the most significant one, which affects every one of us, me inclusive, that you must eat. And you eat when you have cooked. And you cook using energy. And we cannot afford clean energy. Recently, the Ministry of Energy has actually been promoting what they call ethanol. And you must cook with that ethanol small burner. It is nice that it is ethanol. By the way, it's very clean and it's nice. I've used it. But the small jerry can of ethanol runs out very fast.
Really?
You just have like a small thing like this.
So it's also expensive.
It's very expensive. You can't cook with it like you're going to cook many things. He has told you beans take a long time. Now if you're going to use ethanol for cooking beans, you're going to use like 4 or 5 bottles of that ethanol.
So we have no alternative.
You have an alternative, but I don't know how are they manufacturing this ethanol. What is the Ministry of Energy saying about ethanol, for example? And because this is the information that we urgently need. We need now government to come out and say, okay, we are now going ethanol. Let's try to leave the forests for maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years. He has told you, maybe the forest is no longer there. Budongo is not there. And I keep seeing people saying we are in tree campaign planting. And they say we have planted 10,000 trees.
But they plant pine.
Now, 10,000 trees, you say we have planted 10,000. I saw that from 2019. That there's been an increase in upsurge. CSOs also joined and said civil society organizations are saying we are planting trees, but where are the trees? How come we plant all these trees? We keep saying we have planted these trees, but they are not there. Where does the money go?
Somebody asked me a question yesterday. We have intensified measures to build dams as a measure to increase electricity generation, so as to cover up for that energy requirements. But even when we have energy, electricity in excess, it's not affordable. How many people are connected to the national grid? I think is it more like 19% of the whole population?
Yeah, about 19, and in rural areas,
and even those who have it
3%.
cannot afford cooking on electricity.
Correct.
That's a big challenge.
I can't afford cooking on electricity. And I think I am, yes.
So the forest will be depleted anyway. The forest will continue to deplete forests.
Yes, the forests will continue to be depleted. But for me, I'm saying it is a time for us to stop. And there's a time we wrote headlines on talk shows like this one. So we sat down and wrote headlines. And my headline was, you either pay attention to the environment or we are doomed.
Yeah,
that was my headline. I still stand by that headline. I'm back to say doom is all we are going for. So we need to stop now and say, okay, we've seen these things. They have been happening gradually. First was landslides in Bududa. Yeah. That one, you said you relocated people, but it's still there. The thing keeps silting.
The danger still remains.
Now you saw Chisoro, and the whole road was broken into. Then came your Masaka Road. We were thinking, it is Chisoro, it is far away.
And Baguma could not cross.
Of course, Baguma didn't even. He came by boat.
Oh my God, Richard, I don't know what your opinion is on this matter of the environment.
No, it's complex. It's a very complex matter. You see, so I don't know what I should do. It's very complex. And you know me, I associate with the UN. I think the first major report that I remember was launched by the Intergovernmental Panel of Experts. Was I think before the Rio Summit, I think 1992, something like that. Because see, for me, River Katonga is a very small thing. Yeah. I think in Malawi and Namibia and Mozambique, just a few weeks
floods,
ago,
they have had
we don't compare.
Floods massive.
Yeah, I think in California, in Texas, so for us, what? I don't want to minimize our problem here, but this is nothing.
But we must be doing something.
Compared to the global. Yes, and that's why I'm telling you it's complex. And it's global. It is, for me, I think it's very dangerous to start on climate action only in a micro approach. We must have micro actions, but the micro actions must be driving to a macro, and macro at global level. Climate issues are not just here, not Ugandan. In fact, I keep telling people that even if you all planted trees here, and the Congo forest is deforested, and the Sudan is deforested, and Kenya is deforested, you will have the problems here.
Yeah, true.
Because the water that comes through River Nile comes from, I don't know, it starts in Kagera, and the water that
down in Rwanda, actually.
So anyway, we need so while we need to take urgent, immediate, and sustained action here, we must not just think that we are going to solve this problem locally. It's huge. And that's why you see, there were issues like global commons. How are you destroying the two most important, perhaps, ecological areas, the Congo forest and the Amazon? What are we doing with our water and our soil? So it's a very complex thing. So
even the carbon credits.
Absolutely. But it manifests locally. It manifests in a grizzly video where perhaps not so stable, I don't know if he is or not, stable Odonga Oto goes and makes a man lie in the mud and starts caning him. And for me, the largest problem is that when there are attempts by public officials to prevail on Odonga Oto, then everybody stands up. So this man should be humiliated in the rain. So we want to leave the solutions to the Odonga Oto approach. We all get canes and start whipping the one who does what we don't like. How can we have that mayhem? This must be stopped. Yes, they must be stopped. Because what has he championed that he has championed genuinely, this man?
But
what is his history of championing genuine things?
But it's not only
what allegations of things when he was in parliament was he facing against the pro-people laws?
I recall the late Kasirye Gwanga also took it upon himself and started shooting.
Was he considered the most stable officer of the UPDF?
Tires of vehicles
was he considered the most stable?
Being used to ferry, I mean, timber across, I mean, through his constituency.
Yeah, but he slapped a traffic officer. So is this an example that we want to take? So for me, I want to be...
I mean, Richard, doesn't that tell of how people are actually frustrated that possibly government has not done enough to protect the environment?
Yeah, but that's what I'm asking. My frustration that there are potholes is there. So if somebody is dodging the potholes and scratches me, I get out my inkoni and go and beat him.
No.
So it's a very complex matter. It's extremely urgent, by the way, and spells doom. I agree with the charity. It spells doom. But
first time.
We must. No, it's not the first time. but I think for me, we need to look at the complexity of the challenge. Let me tell you, people talk about charcoal and firewood. The statistic I have had here is 97%, because you said 3% are the only ones who don't use wood. No, who don't use wood and charcoal. Now, the other 97%
rely on charcoal,
on wood products.
Yeah, and wood
to prepare their meals. So what are we talking about? That we are going to wish away this 97% very quickly? We are not going to. We are going to be using. By the way, I was challenging somebody. They were talking like this, and we went to his home. There was a standby sigiri. He has gas and electricity and the sigiri in the compound. Because even the electricity goes off.
Yeah, we have load shedding.
So they have to run to the sigiri. So the approach cannot be arresting one lorry and making men lie in the rain and you think you're going to solve that problem. I think, by the way, that person really is not stable in the mind. I think they are like the Red Savit or somebody. I think we need to deal with this. And when we look at this, I keep telling people that we don't know that we are unstable. But the statistics told us the other day many of us are unstable mentally.
But the big
so they are very complex.
Let's address ourselves to the elephant in the room.
And which is
the environment, and how what efforts are we putting in to conserve the environment?
Yeah, I'm saying the efforts of making people lie in the road in the rain are silly. They are stupid, and they are not going to give us solutions. They are compounding the problem.
What should we be doing around this
For
time?
example, I plant trees. I plant trees for two reasons. One, I want the money from them after 10 years.
Yeah.
And I think on the other social side of me that I'm contributing to the management of carbon. They have talked about trees which have not been cut. It's been part of my argument. That they have cut all the other trees in Usoga, but he mentioned some trees that have not been cut.
Jackfruit.
It's people will eat it. It's income generating, but it also does the environment.
Yes.
So for me,
trees.
yes, we need to be thinking around those. What is the benefit, honestly, of somebody having a tree which they have to sweep every day, the leaves in their compound, and it is bringing them nothing? Yet the child has to go to school tomorrow, and somebody is offering them money for wood. They will cut it. Yes. So the matter is complex. We must do multiple approaches. One of the most important, I think, that we are not doing is we are not sensitizing our young ones about this problem. We are not. So, Charity, we are talking about civil society organizations.
Tree planting campaigns.
I have been in this. We don't do tree planting. We do seedling distribution. The two are different. When you go and get these trees from a nursery and you go and give them school children, you have not planted those trees. No, by the way, they won't even plant them. Because the people who are staying in apartments and rented the, what do you call these houses, semi-detached. Where are they going to plant the trees from? But these are the children in the elite schools whom we are giving the trees.
We go to the villages.
So it is dead from the beginning. And that was my, because I have participated in some of the things. And so we go back, and when we go to evaluate at the end of the day, you bought 15,000 trees, and the only surviving trees are 50.
So, Baguma, you usually talk about that word impunity, and I don't know if it relates to what is happening on the matter of encroaching on wetlands.
It's part of the problem.
I've looked at wetlands. There is a wetland between Bugorobi and Muyenga. There is a factory in the middle of that wetland.
No, you're going to keep lamenting.
Okay.
You see, you're going to keep lamenting around that. I'm sorry for you. Because if you start bringing one wetland, miles and miles of wetlands are born, and more are going to go. Yeah, more are going to go. You see, population pressure inevitably destroys nature.
Do we have, don't we have
one of the things, for example, people talk about sand. You see, we have how many dams being constructed now? 5? Being constructed at
power dams?
Hey,
they are more
at
than
a go.
Oh,
I don't know if you have visited.
The major ones.
I don't know if you have visited the dam. One of them. Damming. Have you seen how much water you need to construct to dam? So, if you are taking a building and you bring rods of sand, how many rods of sand do you want on that dam? So, where is that sand going to come from?
But are you,
of course, it is going to come from the lakeside.
But are you sure?
Obviously.
Are you sure this sand is being used here?
No, but no.
There are concerns that it is being exported.
Yeah, but what I'm raising is that we have more than 5 dams, by the way. The 4 major ones and the other smaller ones being constructed at the same time. So are we saying we are importing sand? Of course we are using local sand. And therefore, we must mine it. So for me, there are some things we can blind ourselves to, but tons and thousands of tons of sand are going to be mined when we are doing that construction. Where is that sand going to come from? From the lakeside. What is it going to do? Destroy swamps. Yeah, we must face some of the things too.
I told you there are concerns that even Chinese who are in this business of sand mining are actually exporting it.
But why don't we say Chinese are also in the business of construction? Is there anyone which is not being constructed by Chinese? So they mine it, they take it to their sites. This thing, people have told me that in Uganda, soil was exported to Israel. But how much soil was taken? Is that the one which is failing us to grow our food?
All right, gentlemen and lady, thank you so much for those submissions. And I again appeal to you, viewers, that you can be part of the discussion that is going on in the studio. Send your WhatsApp message to 0701 609906. The issue of environment and efforts to mitigate the effects of climate change is really, really, really serious. If we don't do something, then, like Charity said, we are doomed. Finally, gentlemen, medics are on strike, and not only one category, but interns first, then later house officers, then another one, medical officers, special grade also, are all on strike. And this will actually take us to our next topic for discussion, when looking at the Minister for Labour, who will be actually laid to rest today. Dr. Gerard, what is it? What is it with medics and strikes? I don't know. What do you make of it? In just a comment and we move on.
I think there have been a number of factors. One has been the unfulfilled promises to some of them. Let me begin with the category of the interns. Of course, borrowing from abroad where people have enough doctors, interns are not paid as doctors, but also their workload is low in the hospitals because they are still studying and they have to work under someone. But when you come to Uganda, especially government facilities have recruited very few doctors, and therefore these interns are doing most times exactly what a doctor is supposed to do.
True.
So you can find that a senior doctor has moved to a private facility, and then the intern is there handling. And you know the law says that you cannot just keep giving labor for free. Labor should be compensated. So these people feel like they are filling in a very important gap, you know, in giving services to the patients. So the issue of promising them and failing to honor and then delays is partly causing this problem. Then the other challenge that I see is that it is true that many universities now are training doctors, and there are many doctors on the market. But the government has, I don't know whether there is a ceiling in terms
government
of
is saying they don't have money to recruit.
But I can assure you that Guru is producing, Makerere, Barara, there are quite
even
many
KIU.
universities. But these people are not being absorbed, and therefore we still have the shortage of doctors. But also, some doctors are frustrated because they are available within the hospitals, but what to use is a challenge. If I have gone to, if I'm a carpenter, I will need a hammer, I will need the nails, but in this case, there's shortage of those supplies, and so these are all concerns. That
so it could be true that government cannot absorb the labor, available.
We have capacity, but I think let me sound a little negative to the government people now, that there is a lot of wastage. When I look around everywhere, money is moving in cash. You watch TV, so and so has donated this. You know, I like the other day I was discussing somewhere. For instance, we are abolishing the Economic Policy Research Center, saying that it was necessary in the 90s. Okay, when the economy was doing badly. Now they say the economy is doing okay, we no longer need it. But we have 140 presidential advisors who never meet the president. They have a car, they have fuel from government, they have a salary, they don't do the job that they are appointed to do. So I believe that if we close gaps in some areas, we can improve.
Good. Charity, I saw doctors. I imagine what is happening in hospitals right now, because if interns are not deployed, are not working, the senior medical house officers are not, and then special medical officers, special grade, are also striking. We may not know. We may be here and unaware of what actually is happening, and lives may be actually doing what? Being lost. I saw them warn boarders and Subaru drivers that you drive carefully. Let me hope that Subaru drivers and boarders did heed the advice.
You know you'll come to Mulaga and we are not.
Charity.
But you know, we are laughing about these issues, but the serious thing is, I think medical matters should not be politicized. Okay? We saw the Prime Minister calling interns to Chankwanzi. There was a training there for medical interns. And the story in Chankwanzi was you have to be patriotic in the work you do. Meaning, don't ask for payment, don't ask for allowances, just do what you've been asked to do. You know, soldiers are taught moja kwa moja, one track way. And Chankwanzi is usually a school of soldiers.
It has a military background.
Yes, it does. So when you go there, it is that you pick some of the values and the beliefs of soldiers. And I think that Cuba, if you look at it, they have a very good medical system.
Yeah,
one of the best.
Yeah.
But it was very much facilitated by their military.
Oh.
Yes.
Under Fidel Castro.
Yes. It was very much facilitated by their military. And I think that Uganda wanted to move that direction. But are we ripe for that? I don't think so. Our medical doctors have said they need interns, especially when it comes to issues of gynecology and childbirth. See, when a woman is going to deliver, she will not deliver alone. Even if there is a gynecologist, he may have up to 1,000 women to attend to.
Or midwives.
I'm talking about the gyne.
Hey.
That the gyne needs, he has patients whom he is hoping to see. On one day, he might have even 30 or 40 patients. They're telling him this under pressure has gone up, this under pressure has gone down.
So the workload is huge.
It is very huge. They're saying, now give us advice on this one. The midwife, meanwhile, is the one who is managing.
And we cannot absorb this.
Is the one who is managing all the other cases that the guy cannot be at that point. Then, of course, Uganda has also changed. There are many women now giving birth by cesarean, which wasn't the issue in the past, and that is also a problem. Now, what I think should happen, and which the doctors have asked for, government gave commitment to the medical interns and to the doctors and said, we are going to pay you.
To increase your salaries.
Even to increase salaries, even to pay. Can they fulfill?
Yeah, true.
We always see supplementary budgets. We are now talking about a 52 trillion budget. What is it? Why can't you pay off these medical workers? Why should they always be having industrial action? Let us do a consistent payment and make the doctors look bad. Let them be the ones who now the public is saying they like going on strike. They have been paid, but they've gone on strike. But every time they go on strike, the public sits back and says, Manange, what
when teachers were sorted, now somehow
they're a bit quiet.
They're a bit quiet. So.
Except the artists are still complaining. And one day they will come back.
Richard, we have only 3 minutes. Give us your view of these strikes, intermittent strikes. Since 2017, medics are on strike, and I am sure lives are being lost.
I first participated in the strike over money and government things in 1991. I was a student.
Wow.
They shot us, and we calmed down, but the strikes are still going on. But what? Then my colleagues then were together in university, including our chairman for North Court Hall at that time. This man who was in NSSF and is accused of having taken money for workers as a workers' representative, Dr. Yomochi. He transited to organize with another colleague of ours. And then the teachers went on strike. I mean, you have been having strikes all over, all around, over pay and welfare. I'm not sure that they are going to stop. What happens is that this group of strikers gets managed. You infuse some politics, they are divided, and yeah, those ones come down, then another group. I can see the divisions that are happening now.
Are you suggesting that we should get used to strikes? And
no, you see, when you narrate what has happened, you are not suggesting. You are reminding people of what has happened. Because people seem to talk on the now and forget the past. But if you look at the last 3 presidents of the Medical Association, and actually now the Medical Association will not be leading strikes anymore. It will be sections of the medical fraternity, and then they will also be taken. You just see the last 3 presidents of the Medical Association, where are they? They will not be talking, they are talking different language. Even these ones will be managed. Now, the greatest, I think, for me, mistake was to promise increment. You see, in this country, when you are being paid 6 million.
And it is documented.
In this country, when you are being paid 6 million, comparatively, you are being paid quite a reasonable amount of money. And actually, some of the people who are striking are at 6 million.
Yeah. They want 11 million.
Yeah. So when you are being paid 6 million in this country, compared to all the other workers, including the workers in the private sector, in our civil society, somebody who is paid 6 million is being paid a reasonable amount of money. In comparative terms, the health workers are being paid better, even in the region. So they can migrate. But how many will migrate? Because they are flooding also now.
But they are saying,
however, you have different.
Their colleagues actually,
that has been happening.
Fleeing to Kenya.
Just think about
Rwanda,
the doctors you know, whom you went to school with for us who went long ago. How many have gone? So that is going to keep happening. And you know me, I don't have a problem with the externalization of labor. You know, I'm one of those who says people must go and get paid where they can be paid where. This thing of wanting to hold people hostage with their skills. I am not part of that.
But isn't these strikes affecting us anyway?
No, people are dying.
Oh, the local people.
People are dying. And if
that is the concern.
God forbid, if I was going to hospital today, I would probably die of worry than the disease itself. Yeah, so people are dying and people are going to continue dying. You see, I'm telling you what has been happening. The problem is when you say these things, people think that's what you want. You are saying this is what has happened.
Richard, I have only 1 minute. Conclude.
Yes, and therefore, for me, what we need to be dealing with is the question of interns. And to say, if you are a private student, you have to pay all the way for your private study. You are not going to study partly and the government pays for you. Oh, no, none of the professions is getting that. So you are going to pay your school fees for the next 7 years. And you are going to extract from Ugandans maximally when you are like they are doing to us now. The one we should really be attacking, and you see, Dr. Werike talked about something which we didn't focus on. Yes, the abuse, the hemorrhage, the opulence, the disgusting way of the way we spend our money. I think that's what we need to be attacking, seriously.
Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you so much, Charity. And thank you so much, Dr. Jida Wanzala. And thank you so much, our viewers. We'll be going for a short break. But when we return, retired Colonel Charles Okero Engora is going to be laid to rest today, but he was shot by his own bodyguard. Not only him, but a few days after that incident, another person was shot dead. Isma Olaxes, a video blogger, was assassinated. But just yesterday, a businessman in Kampala was also shot dead, in cold blood. What is happening? Why is it happening? Those are the questions probably we have to address in our next segment. Be there. Let's go for a break and return after this short break. Welcome from the break. This is The Dialogue. My name is Prince Apollo, and we have Dr. Jida Wanzala, a researcher from Africa Leadership Institute. Charita Himsibwe Kalebo is a human rights activist and also the executive director for Electoral Laws Institute. We have Richard Baguma, a communication expert, and we are looking at these serious matters and actually matters of national importance. On the issue of Medics strike, comment is here. Good morning, Apollo and the guest. Thanks for the show. I would like to comment on the issue of Medics strikes. Where we have reached as a country, this government only listens to strike, to only strike. I am 105% on the side of medics. We are tired of government threatening our doctors instead of fulfilling their promises. They are instead threatening them. This is not allowed, and we can't tolerate this anymore. I have heard in the corridors that they are even planning to give musicians billions of money, for heaven's sake. Who advises and plans for this country? This government. And he's Joel in Chirinya. Thank you so much, Joel, from Chirinya Bokasa. Thank you so much for your comment, and I encourage others also to send in their comments. Julie is watching us from USA, and she says doctors should be paid well, period. Thank you so much, Julie, and of course we appreciate your feedback. I now have to shift gears and look at they are actually becoming common, the shootings and murders happening in this country. Charity comes from Chisasi, and we are being told people are now migrating from Chisasi area and Bula, is it Bula? Chanja area, just because of these murders. But it's not happening only in that area. Even this policeman who shot a businessman in Kampala with all that confidence, and then he walks out, delivers the gun at CPS, and then walks away. It really, it speaks a lot. And Richard, I'll pick you first. I don't know if you look at these incidents. In just 2 weeks, 3 incidents of shootings. Actually, there was another one in Kagadi, I think, somewhere, where a soldier also shot a person. Gun violence. In these all 3 incidents, do you see something common? Do you pick anything common in all these incidents?
I think the only strand I see is gun violence. But also, I don't think it is true that statistically we have an increase
in gun violence,
in shootings. I don't think so. So I think we need to look at our statistics. They are recorded.
3 incidents in just 2 weeks.
They are recorded.
Or 4.
These things are recorded. The police records them. They report them in their crime reports. So, what you see, you in just in your introductory remarks, you say, I think there was somebody who was shot in Masindi.
Yeah, it is, I can check.
If there were 10 people who were shot in Masindi, they would not have got as the same attention as this man who was speaking on who was recording himself and speaking. By the way, I was a bit surprised. I surprised myself. I had never heard that guy.
Ismail
Isma, yes, thank you, Isma. But if there had been 10 shootings in Masindi, Chiriandongo, and what, they would not have had the same attention as Isma. So we need to look at the dynamics that drive attention to certain incidents. And because now for me, communication is what I relate to a lot. The second thing is the shooting of the person in the shop, in the office or money lending place was very dramatic. It did not draw anywhere near as much attention as the shooting of the minister. So we also have to put the profile of the people. Yeah, it's that one. We have to put in like the profile of the people, the nearness to the shootings of each other, and so. Now, one of the things,
a very grisly incident.
One of the things that came to my mind was we need to look at the statistics of the people who are shot off camera and at night. Yes, we need to look at those statistics. If those statistics were getting the same...
Look at the confidence the police, that policeman exhibited in coming back, checking the documents, and then shooting the dead man again. And then he walks, you see, and then he majestically walks out of office. Look at that. A policeman in uniform committing such a heinous crime. What does it tell you, Richard?
You are not listening to me. And I think you're not alone in not listening to me.
Go right ahead.
If this person was killed at night in the dark, where would you get this drama from? I am saying statistically, we do not have more deaths now than we have been having through gun violence. Now, that is where part of the problem...
To you, isn't it a concern that these things are happening? I mean, you seem to say that the statistics are not really alarming to that level where we possibly should be concerned. No. I don't know if I get you well.
I'm actually accusing you, Apollo, and all of you who control the airwaves, that you are doing a disservice to this country by not highlighting the deaths that happen, but choosing to focus on a few dramatic ones.
So there are many more actually happening, that's what you're saying?
And, no, that's not what I'm saying. I am saying that I'm blaming you, Apollo, and the like ones for not putting a spotlight on those deaths. Okay. Yes, that's what I am blaming. I'm leveraging blame diplomatically. I'm saying that for us in this area of communication, for us in the field of human rights, that's how many people have died at their gates. Yeah. How many people have been shot at their gates? How many people have been shot in their houses? Breaking. But must it be shooting? How many people have been killed by pangas, bijambia? So I'm saying that the violence, the deaths that are happening, how many people have been hit on the heads by, what do you call these ones? These ones by the roadside. The ones who are calling it what? Kataimbwa. You have many more deaths. We are not focusing on these deaths. And that is the tragedy of this country, I think. That's one. The second aspect to this for me, and this is something I've been talking about, and I was even talking to doctors during the week and even on social media now, amongst doctors in the military. Do you know how many staff we have in the mental health division of the Ministry of Health of Uganda? We have one mental health division in, in Uganda, in the Ministry of Health. Apollo, check. If you find more than 5 doctors there, you will come and chase me away from your show.
So we are not giving
we are not paying attention.
Issue of mental health due attention.
No, we are, okay, that's an understatement. You can say it even in a more crude way, if we can find. That we get statistics in this country, that how many, 14 million of us or something, have mental health problems. And then, the investment in that is probably 0 something %. We are reaping this. We are reaping this. And then we probably will find the other policeman will also kill himself. He will be hunted and we'll find him hanging himself in whatever, in a house. And then the crime, Charity the lawyer will help me. And the crime ends there, that this one killed this one and this one. By the way, also in the shootings we talk about the minister. The one who didn't die is not talked about.
Oh, the
military assistant to
the AD.
It was shot. We don't know whether he's going to stand up again. We don't know whether his family is going to survive again. We don't know. So for me, this problem is a lot bigger. A lot bigger. And the guns are in the hands of many people. I've been told that there are about 150,000 guns in the hands of Ugandans that are not registered.
Yeah, a report was released, I think, in one of the newspapers this week.
If you have these guns among people whose heads have been told, we have been told by the specialists that they are our heads, and then you have the guns in those ones whose heads are also not performing well, how much are we going to increase?
So you seem to predict doom. I
also say, for me, why I don't like doom is I also say we can intervene.
Oh, yeah.
What I'm saying is we are not giving it even 1% of the attention that it deserves. And we need to worry.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Richard. I picked this information from a certain very informed police officer, and he said there is a report by Police Medical Services which was released just recently, and it shows that 1,027 police officers were found to be having mental illness in the force of about 44,000.
So what is criminal, Apollo, is that what happened, it's if you have this report, then what do you do?
Exactly.
That's for me the one where the criminals now start.
Charity, when you look at those separate incidents of shooting, a soldier shoots his boss, and this policeman shooting a businessman. Okay, we can also look at the assassins who took the life of Ismail. We don't know who they are actually. So what do you find as a common denominator in all this?
You know, Apollo, one of the things I had to talk about is that blood. Because in 2021 we lost 54 people here, and we still have no accountability whatsoever.
And the 54 are in only one incident?
The 54, the police report that was released in November of 21st, 2020 did talk about that one incident when 54 people
Just
died
one incident?
On the streets of
So
Kampala.
imagine how many others.
Now, of course, the Human Rights Watch put that number at 100. That was 2020 in November.
November 18th and 19th.
Yes.
Those were the days of the protests in Kampala and Jinja.
Now, beyond there, we have seen isolated incidents of people being killed. One happened there in Kawanda at a police post. They killed the policeman and they took a gun Where that gun is, we don't know. Who has it? We don't know. The police has never come back to tell us. This policeman was killed, this gun went, we searched for it and we found it. We don't know. Then came the ones who you reported in Congo. Remember, there were guns also there and people who disappeared on the boat. And then also guns went, also from UPDF, and policemen were killed too there. And we don't know where are the guns, who has them, and how are they using them. But the guns went. Then came the cow. He was just killed here in Matuga. He was even in a Uganda UG, a Uganda government vehicle. He was also gunned down. That issue was also not resolved. The cow was long buried. That was last 2022 in July. And so the shootings keep coming.
Forget the Katumba Amala incident and
there are many others, you know, because every time there's a shooting, social media comes back with all the old ones in the recent past. And the number keeps growing. Now, of course, the president talked about a very key thing. He said that, you know, when there is insecurity, two things are happening. There are underlying factors which need to be dealt with. And he said the CID should come out, investigate those issues, and be able to inform the authorities on what the underlying issues are. He talked about mistrust. He talked about politics. And that's also true. I want to believe mistrust. I want to believe politics. Then he talked about the whole question of investors. How investors fear to work in a place of insecurity. The president said these words, and I want to agree. See, at Raja Chambers, how did that policeman you've just been showing us, how did he effect a shooting in a place which is public, like how you saw? Many people were seated in that place. It is a public place, like not one person seated there. And I think Baguma is telling us, let us ask ourselves, so the shooting happened in broad daylight, in a public place. The man walked away with an AK-47.
In a heavily guarded area.
In a place which has
zone.
Parliament across, IGG, the office, KCCA, then the Office of the Constitutional Affairs, Constitutional Justice and Constitutional Affairs. That's the triangle. The Ministry of Lands, very busy place. And this is a very place where there was the bomb.
Yeah, blast last 2020, I think.
In 2020. So, I mean, the question is, then, if that can happen, then what is it? You see, even Isma, when he was killed, his driver was in that car. And journalists have not told us, okay, police called him, they questioned him.
Recorded statement.
Then what? You know, so there is so many gaps. The only story I have seen from the journalists from the shooting, which happened yesterday, was that the man has a mental problem which has existed with him. Wabwire is the one who shot.
Oh, Ivan Wabwire.
Ivan Wabwire.
Police constable.
They say he has had a mental problem. The story came out yesterday night.
But he's in uniform and he's on duty.
Yes, they say he had a mental problem before. It was dealt with. It was now managed very well. And he was back in the force. The question is, when people have a mental problem and they are brought back in the force, how are they handled? Do you give them rifles? And I think Baguma is also asking the bigger question of how many mad people do we have out there?
They are mental disorders.
Yes, they are mental disorders, but now they are mad.
That's very crude.
It has become that, because that is what New Vision said. New Vision said 14 million Ugandans are mad.
No, have mental disorders.
That was what New Vision told us.
That was the headline. They just put it in quotes, but they said mad.
Yes. So if all these people have mental disorders...
So these shootings are a consequence of a bigger problem in this country.
There are underlying causes. And until those underlying causes are dealt with, the question of insecurity for investment, the question, you look at Karamoja, for example. Do you know what? Karamoja has been locked in poverty because of gun violence. That the people there fight, they have guns, everybody around them, one another keeps a gun next to themselves to keep their cattle. And they kill each other. And there is no one who can afford to go to Karamoja, because every time you think about going there, you're saying, a bullet will be flying over your head. You don't know whether you will come back, you will survive, or you won't.
Because we have those more than 1,000 unregistered guns.
And nobody knows where they are. Even government sometimes goes searching for them and hasn't found.
What happened with the process of fingerprinting, registering guns, and you wonder?
Yeah, so those are the big questions that now Uganda police needs to come out. They are saying they've done that report, which you have just said. They know about mental illness within the force, and they have a report. So what are they doing about the report? So what are they doing about the report on fingerprints? What are they doing about the report of the guns, which people don't know where they are lying? So are we seated on a bigger problem? Do we need to reflect a bit? Are we going to get a statement coming from security operatives? Because now the one yesterday was a policeman, but the one before was UPDF. So it's all a big story.
Okay, Dr. Gerard, I saw the president apologize at the Kololo ceremony, and he apologized on behalf of UPDF. And said that is not the ideology of the NRA, NRM, and I don't know if he can now come out to apologize on behalf of police. But there is during that session of Parliament, when members of Parliament paid respects to the late Colonel Charles Engola, Norbert Mao made a big statement. I don't know if anybody cared. He said, it's a continuation. We need to repent and forgive each other if we have transgressions against anyone. He says, only true reconciliation can secure our collective future. We are in the same boat as Ugandans. You may think you have plan B, but there is no country B. What do you make of the prevailing situation, Dr. Gerard?
I think his statement, if I have to respond to that one, was a bit philosophical, not addressed to this particular matter, but it was a broader one, even maybe relating to politics. Forgiveness. I was a follower of Olaro Tunu when he was in politics here, and then he used to say, there is no healing without truth-telling and forgiveness. And so I think Mao used the opportunity to try to bring out what he thinks. And of course, when he was appointed, he said he was coming to handle some of these things. But we are yet to see, of course, what he promised us.
But the anger is evident.
The anger is evident because of various reasons. One, I agree with Richard. There is many people are suffering mental illness. Actually, if you look at that police officer, by him thinking that you'll go, pick a paper, kill the businessman, pick a paper, and then your loan will be erased. When this is a company, it has directors, it has management, you are wasting. It means your head is not functioning very well. But some of these pressures are also coming from economy, issues of economics. I was talking here last week about there was Alendo loans, how they are pressing a certain fraction of the soldiers, that your salary is 490, you took a loan of 11 million, payable maybe in 5 years, and then they're deducting 200, and you're going home with the 200. Because you have a sick child, or maybe you need to treat them somewhere, at the end of the day you go to Baroda. Baroda, these are private individuals who have money in the army who lend to the soldiers. And they usually
call them Baroda?
Yeah, they call themselves Baroda. And they usually get ATM cards of soldiers. So you find soldiers who never touch their ATM card for a year. Every time the money comes, Wazalendo cuts, Baroda takes, then the Baroda guy withdraws and gives him 30,000. Within a week, he's borrowing from him again. So these are challenges I talked about. I've been following police circle issues, exodus. The junior police officers are saying, money is deducted every month, but the people who are borrowing money are the bosses, as though this circle, exodus, was created for only senior officers of the UPDF. So it forces some of them to go for expensive loans. So there is mental illness, but mental illness can be triggered by so many factors around someone.
Even private Sabiti also had procured loans. I think there are two. Even this gentleman, Police Constable Wabwire, Ivan, also had procured 2 loans. I think that tells of what actually is happening. The economic hardships could be actually triggering.
And to wrap up my point,
depression and
with the due respect to the president, President Museveni, he mentioned the issue of ideology. I mentioned last week that ideology is one of the cornerstones of the army. An army should have an ideology. Why they're in the army? What role are they going to play in terms of protection of the state and its institutions? But when you transit from a rebel force to a national army, the issue of ideology alone cannot work, because people now look at the army, like the UPDF, as an institution where they are going to get employment. That's why now you have graduates there, you have people, you say a limit should be senior 4. People compete to join that army now. So when they join, they also expect, in addition to putting their bodies there, by the way, I commend them in the line for protecting us. But they also need to earn a living and supporting their families. So ideology alone cannot feed their families.
Ideology alone can no longer feed the families of soldiers. That's what you're saying. We will need to connect with Wamala Muhammad. He's in Oyam, at the ancestral home of the late Colonel, retired Charles Okero Ngora. And Wamala, you are live in the dialogue. We would want to know what actually is happening that side. What should we expect, and what actually is playing out at the barrio today? Please go right ahead.
Yes, a very good morning to all our viewers. My name is Mohammed Wamala. We are here in Oyam, where the recompense is taking place now for the send-off of the former State Minister for Gender and Labour and Social Development in terms of workers. It is a somber mood for all mourners around the place. The chief mourner, Her Excellency retired Major Jessica Lupo, the Vice President, is already in the place. We are seeing the Archbishop of Lango Sub-Region, Professor Olwa, leading the funeral service, and there are many people, there are many villagers, there are many local people around the place, there are local council leaders, we see the RDC of the region, we see armed officers all over the place. It is a somber mood, like we are saying, but it is shining brightly, and then we are seeing the weather not changing into other, maybe about disturbing the occasion. Besides is the late family's family. We are seeing the eldest son, we are seeing the daughters, we are seeing Mr. Samengola, the older brother, the late person. And in the process, we are told it's going to be accorded 11-gun salute, and the whole process is already set, the grave is already dug, and the whole process is already being managed by the UPDF brigade. We see the
Well,
we are seeing many ministers around. Minister for Internal Affairs State, General Deputy Mohozi. There are other ministers coming in the process. Security is tight, and the mood is so somber. The mood is very somber. But right now, it is the funeral service that is going on, and after here, we shall be taken through the program, and we are told the program will end by 2 p.m. The late Minister Charles Okello Engola will be ready to rest at 2 p.m. here in Oyam. The mood is very somber. It is so somber. And the mourners are over. They are stranded. We are seeing school children. We are seeing local council elders. We are seeing cultural leaders here. Security. We are seeing armed officers all over the place. And the mood is just somber for our mourners. We will get back to you, Apollo, for more information. But right now, the mass is ending. The eulogies are going to start and laying of wreath. Professor Charles Olwa has finished his mass, and we are seeing other places. There are many still coming. There are many people still coming to attend the funeral service, and right away we shall be taken through into other programs. But like we told you, the program is estimated to end at 2 p.m. today here in Oyam sub-region. Lango sub-region, where the State Minister for Labour, Agenda and Social Development Minister, late Okello Engola, sits by his former bodyguard, Private Wilson Sabit. According to the program, the spokesperson of GPDF and veterinary, he said all will be.
Well, we apologize for that break in the transmission, but of course we've picked that update from Oyam district, and we again say may his soul rest in peace. And gentlemen, during the official ceremony at Kololo, the president also directed that allowances for guards, those VIP guards, must be withdrawn immediately. And the president says the guards should be only given food and tents from the guard battalion, and he says giving them more money will turn them into mercenaries. I don't know if you think that actually solves the whole issue, because Richard, do you think are we picking lessons from such incidents? Anyway.
I like that people get paid, because I like being paid. I don't want to be broke. I find brokenness a very. I tell people that in my earlier years, I would tell people that when you enter into a room that is full of poor people, like for us, in sometimes we do CSO work, just the smell tells you that you're actually coming into a room full of poor people.
You're not safe.
Yeah, they lack soap. They don't have Dio.
And they will steal iron sheets.
No, the poor ones don't steal iron sheets.
They steal what?
They fear to steal iron sheets, actually.
They take iron sheets.
The poor.
They're not like Waguma who takes
because
billions.
I keep telling people that, you see, to carry iron sheets, you need means.
Because Richard,
but seriously,
Richard, you raised the issue of mental disorders, and it's a
one of the
matter.
drivers.
But Dr. Gerard raised the issue of economic hardships.
One of the drivers is what Gerard was saying. It's economic hardship. So economic hardship as a driver of stress, of depression, because you see, mental health, those are the things we are talking about, of anxiety, those are the things, those are the mental health, when you break it down. So that's one of the major ones. But you see, I find it, I have difficulty commenting on a point where one says that somebody who is being paid 400,000 shillings for 30 days, that we should not supplement them. That you see, I can tell you there was one person, no, there were several, but there was this particular one where the allowances of the people guarding him would not come, or would delay to come. But he had the power to influence that the allowances come. He was also in a position to say we can supplement them. And by the way, even when they would reach home, it didn't matter whether it's 3 a.m. or whatever, you pack the cars and you go. but you have to come back early and fit within my program. I don't think that's treatment. I think that is shabby. So I think a lot of our security people, like everybody else, needs to have their pay enhanced.
Yeah, true.
They need to have the other things taken care of. That is why I was saying, I keep referring to the time, which we talk about jokingly, that the police people were tear gassing their wives, and the wives were talking about welfare. This was just a welfare issue. Dr. Wairike talked about the what is the name of the police circle? Exodus. When I was still an active journalist in the 90s, and that was in the 90s, and the early 2000s, one of the headlines, you can check the monitor, one of the headlines that was reported about me was that the Inspector General of Government was, and I brought that on my program in NewsHour, after that I had an anti-corruption program, was investigating the Inspector General of Police because of the complaints and allegations by junior officers regarding Exodus. That was how many, 30 years or something ago? I remember, if I remember correctly, in fact, it was people in the radio room in Arua who sent me a letter. So this has been going on. So if you deduct my money and I can't access.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to ask.
You know?
What does that do? They have systems on how that can facilitate access by these soldiers or policemen to their circles? Even the army has Wazalendo, the Wazalendo circle. Why would they go out to borrow from money lenders when they have circles in the first place?
But if I am earning 400,000 shillings, which probably delays to come, how am I going to live normally? With my children in school and my wife sick and whatnot.
Then that's when the circles
how am I going to
come into handy?
Yeah, but Apple, just imagine an ordinary soldier deployed wherever they are, applying for a loan. What are the circumstances? What are the facilities and services are available to them in those areas where they may be deployed? So I think we need to be realistic. Yeah, I think we need to be more realistic, but also to talk about mercenary.
That if you
so how much is going to some of these people who are talking about mercenary? How much money goes to them? Are they? I mean, so it is hard for me to really talk about this.
Charity, what can you predict looking at these circumstances? What type of a future do we now face in the face of economic hardships, with more than 10 million people having mental disorders, and less effort is coming in from the authorities to address such matters?
You see, from a very human rights based approach, one of the basic needs for every human being is food. And shelter and health. And so if you cannot meet food, you know, that is why during COVID-19, Uganda somehow survived. You know why? We had food. And other places were badly hit because they did not have food to go back to. For us, even when people were locked down, some went to their gardens and picked cassava, picked what, and they ate. That is it. The basic way for survival is you need food. Now, why do people wake up every morning to go and work? Or why do people sign up to do the things they do to earn from those activities? And so it is very important that even if the salary, like you've stated, is 450, it comes on time. Okay? First, it should come on time, and it should come holistically. Yesterday I was talking to somebody who said he used to earn 800,000, and that was way back in 2001. Now, he had lost some gadgets for the organization, and they wanted to cut half his salary. And he had a wife and he had a child. And he said, you people, there is no way I will survive with 800,000. I said that was back in 2001. 2021, but now this is 2023, and we are talking about people who are earning 450. But the other man, it was in 2001 when BCJ stood for the first time. That is how many years? About 20 years ago. And the man says at that time he could not survive to look after his wife, the child, and himself on that 800,000, and then pay for the gadgets that were lost. So he told the organization that the only money I can save for you to be paying back gradually for the gadget is 10,000 Uganda shillings. And they laughed at it. But it is that serious. So what we need to do is consider other human beings to be like us. What we wish for ourselves, may we wish for others. So if we sit in big positions and we have some leeway and leverage to certain things, can we also care about the others that may not have the leeway to those things?
I think it is what...
Back to Ubuntu,
yes,
back to brotherhood,
it is what Dr. Gerard
back to loving one another.
Talked about responding to the president's message when the president said, we who, while we were in the bush, we had no pay, but we had to move on. But that has changed. They are in government. The policemen and soldiers, and yes, and UPDF soldiers are not even allowed to demonstrate or protest like medics and teachers. So they may be facing serious hardship, economic hardships, and nobody is out to speak on their behalf. Dr. Gerard, what do you see?
And
what can you predict?
Maybe to respond also to the president further.
And now he's saying
the president should not be saying
and now he's saying
sometimes.
Even the allowances, because the deputy spokesperson of the army, Fande Dewakik, told me private receives 485,000 a month. Salary. But he says it comes on time.
That is UPDF.
UPDF.
Yes. About
it
the
comes
police.
on time.
Mama ingia pole.
Exactly. Now, the guards receive at least 300,000 as allowance supplement there. And now the president says the allowances should be scrapped. They should only be given food and tents from the guard battalion.
And that allowance is only given to those who have the privilege
of guarding VIPs.
Guarding VIPs. Not every soldier has that privilege. And last week I also told you about the issues of welfare, the army. Ideology, welfare, entertainment, those are key to the military people. So if you talk about abolishing this allowance, for instance, I went to Karamoja during we were implementing a project called Civil Military Cooperation, supporting the army in disarmament, but from the civilian aspect. I can assure you, we found UPDF soldiers who joined the army to protect the country, guarding the protected kraals. These are kraals of Karimojong's. Because of insecurity, they bring thousands of cattle in one place. So the army guys are there in the bush, grazing, taking care of these animals. Now, if this is an extra role, someone did not go to the UPDF to graze the cattle of the Karimojong people, and then you abandon that person, not even with an allowance, he's with his warajin kavera in the pocket. You have sentenced that person totally. And I was coming to this, that probably the president at times should not be making these statements. I know they are good for politics, but sometimes they are questioned whether they are a reality. For instance, he said in the 90s, when the soldiers were not earning, he was also earning less, 150,000 shillings. A shilling to $1 by then they were so close. So meaning the money was quite big. My mother was a primary school teacher. She was earning 500 Ugandan shillings. So many years later, the president says he's earning 3.5 million Uganda shillings and is not complaining. But what is the budget? State House, and for State House for taking care of him, his children, his grandchildren. The budget is so huge. So I think when he's making comparison, honestly, he should compare with reasonable salaries. Not because everyone knows this is the budget of the president. This is public. We monitor Parliament. We see it being passed. We know what goes to State House and what goes under President's office. So let's be realistic. And then when the moment we become realistic, then we shall be able to solve the problem. Wow. But if we beat around the bush, it is very, very hard to reverse, for instance, the UPDF of now and make them think the way they were in 81. When they knew they were fighting to get into power, to solve to handle the 10-point program, that was ideology driven. Now, as a national force, we need to counter the challenges that are affecting our security system.
Finally, we are winding up in just 5 minutes. You're parting short on what you think awaits us. I mean, looking at the circumstances playing out in the economy and how government is handling the whole matter. Yeah, I'm saying, what do you think? I mean, what can you predict? I mean, looking at what is happening in the economy and how government is handling the whole matter.
Definitely, challenges are still there, and they are going to continue. As to what exactly is going to happen, I don't know. But if you look at the way the population is growing at about 3.2% per annum, one of the highest in the world, and then you look at the job creation rate in the country, we are sitting on a time bomb.
Wow.
And if you look at the insecurity around, Richard mentioned about the number of deaths in this country, homicide. There are very many.
Yeah.
I was looking at the statistics for 2021. Every day, 10 people are being murdered. In a month, there were 300 people. In a year, 3,600. Out of those, the police was then able to convict less than 1%. The rest, we just bury, we talk stories, how the person was good, and it ends there. And even now, actually, I would put it to the police. We as taxpayers, we gave money for security cameras. In other places, like now Chanja, really Chanja is an urban place. Don't we have anything that we can see from what happened or what happens?
Charity, parting short, and what you think may happen, if you can predict.
For example, now with the private Wilson Wawire, he is Ivan Wawire. Even if he was caught, and people have been saying he should be arrested, he should be tried. If he's produced in court and it is adduced that actually he's insane or has mental illness, the law provides that people with mental illness cannot be convicted.
Should be referred to mental rehabilitation.
Because at that point, they were not in their rightful thinking element. So how many people are going to commit crime and will not be in their right thinking element? Are we thinking about that and thinking about the jurisprudence that accrues from these crimes? Because even if you produce them in court and they go through a full trial, if it is proved that they actually had a mental illness, they will not be convicted. And so the bigger issue to think about is not just symptomatic issues around the increase in death and the gun violence, but the question of life is a right, it should be respected, and it is good for us to feel secure, even if we are of divergent opinion. Like Mao says, I want to think we don't have another Uganda. We just have one Uganda.
Thank you so much, Richard. From the death of the now late state minister, do we pick lessons? Or from these shootings, can we pick
I think
lessons?
in the district that borders that one where the minister is going to be buried, there is a district I think called Karachi. In that district, the report, I think you even carried the report, that they are about 2 billion shillings for PDM that they are stuck with. District stuck with 2,000 million for PDM. You see, it speaks to the malaise that that this country is in. It's you know, so we are like Karachi district. We are stuck.
You are looking
with our insecurity and gun violence.
You are looking at PDM solving the economic problem.
I am actually talking about the failure to even deploy what we have to solve our problems. That's the malaise that we are in. We are stuck in that malaise. And Apollo, I don't like to predict these things, but probably within a month or so we shall be here discussing a gun killing. Have a good weekend.
I pray that
in a month or so
we shall be back here discussing the gun.
I pray that not any of us should be involved.
Yes, just let's have a good weekend.
Viewers, we thank you so much for your time. We again pray that the dead rest.
But before you close, let me beg those who are watching us in security that we are only contributing to improving our
now, Baguma will accuse you of being a coward.
Dr. Wanzala, we're here, finally. No wonder is it. No, I think that, yes, from a broad perspective, we need to think about these issues from institutional level.
Yeah.
Because I have just told you right now that even in terms of jurisprudence, if you go to court now, because when there is crime, there should be justice.
Yeah, true.
You seek justice from the courts of law. Now, when you go to court, I'm saying you're not going to find a solution there, because the court is not going to convict a person who is known to have mental illness.
And if we talk about justice, why is UPDF still holding the body of Private Wilson? Let the family receive the body.
I heard Richard talk about it here, and he was very categorical. He was
and some members of parliament actually were saying, let's give something back to this family. They are innocent. They didn't commit this crime.
Could it be a general problem? I lost a brother during the LRA war. He was fighting on the side of UPDF. He was a soldier in Padel, 5th Division now. And bringing a body to Mbale, we waited for almost a month. So I don't know whether it's a logistical problem.
The 2 billion stuck in Karachi, they malaise. Yes. How do you get stuck with the body for 1 month?
Viewers, we thank you so much for your time. I will genuinely apologize to our viewers. I have a number of messages here as feedback, but I cannot read them out. There is a gentleman who wrote a long script, and he had very valid points and very many others. Sorry, we will of course look at that feedback, and thank you so much for being part of this show. I must thank Richard Baguma, a communication expert. Thank you so much. I only want always to see you in that chair. And Charity, it's a pleasure always having you on the show. Dr. Jared Wanzala, thank you so much. And thank you to the production team. We'll be back here next Saturday. I must say, let's take care. Good afternoon and a good week ahead.